high. We're going to do an offset squat to start off with. So what's really important when we're squatting is that we coordinate the movement of the hip and the knee at the same time. This allows us to keep the leg in a good alignment, protecting the knees and tracking them generally over the center line of the feet. And that's going to keep them kind of optimal. So think about a little bit of turnout, and if we did a simple squat, if you fold at the hip and bend at the knee, you can maintain your position of your knee over the midline of the foot, and it's not too tracking in, not too tracking out. It just gives you a bit of control. So gluteal activity as well. We're going to go to a wide stance. Now as wide as you can sort of manage, and then think about rotating the thigh bones and the hip sockets and maybe going into a more of a second position. So you're opening out that line, pulling the glutes in, sit bones into the midline. And then bring both hands onto the right side and then just drift the knee away. Keep this leg straight and use the hand to support the weight. And then come back in and then drift to the other side. So you're just trying to work out what range of movement you've got, what feels comfortable. Do you need to externally rotate more? Just kind of play with that. Do a couple. If it feels okay, we can progress. So we can do that. Knee bend down. We can continue reaching the arm down in front of the foot. Use the back of the arm to support the knee, and then breathe in to reach the ceiling. Breathe out to bring the hand underneath the torso. Now, you look past the knee as you try and see your fingertips, and then you breathe in and bring the arm up. Now this looking past the leg keeps the neck long, allows you to rotate without collapsing into your spine. So you're just trying to reach out through the crown of the head and rotate. We come back in to the center, switch the arms around, side squat, offset squat, hand to floor in front of foot. Again, opening up, breathing in, breathing out, tucking and rolling. Just stay engaged, stay energized, breathing in, breathing out. Again, looking past the leg as you turn your head, that keeps the neck long. Feel as though there's a sense of opposition with a reach through the crown of the head and come back in. Drift back to center. Bring your feet, almost Charleston them in. So you're kind of just walking back into center. Okay, the second thing we're going to do is a little bit less of a wide stance. We're still keeping in turnout. We can do a couple of demi-pliés. And it's almost as though you were sliding down a wall, keeping your weight over the middle of your feet by bending the knees a little bit forward. So you've got this kind of open stance. So the glutes are on, legs are energized. Okay, so we're going to do some one leg work. So if you need a bit of help with your balance, you could just hold a wall, you could grab something like a roller, you know, a chair, back, something like that. Just don't fall over. Think about this as a leg exercise, a little bit of balance work, but it's kind of a combo. Okay, turn out. Say first position, so 35 degrees, externally rotate the thigh bones, feel that gentle hug of the sit bones into the center and gluteal activity. Demi-plie, drift to the right again, start to take the weight onto that side and then pick your left leg up. So you're in this hover. You can rest the foot on the shin if you want to. And then I want you to keep the turn out, use your arms to offset the balance, and I want you to kick the leg out at comfortable height, straight. And then I want you to come back into center. I want you to come to a kick forward. So you're keeping this knee bent, using your arms to offset the load, and then you're taking your hands the other way as you kick across. So you've got three directions in front of you, back to center, and then if you can, we arabesque. So we're reaching the leg back, bringing the arms wide, staying stable, staying really engaged in the leg, and I'm slowing it down. You could make it a little bit quicker. And I want you to think about doing maybe 3 sets, kick forwards, breathing in, breathing out, kick back, and then back into center, arabesque. And feel as though you reach through your leg, reach through your arms, reach through the crown of your head to keep all the tissues nice and strong. And then as you come back, really feel the control, the connection, and the balance as you place the foot down. And we do the same to the other side. So we're looking for 3 sets, left support, 3 set right support. Breathing well, don't overmove. If 2 sets feels really hard, just do 2 sets. So just kind of working into it. So we stay in the same kind of slightly turned out position. We're going to take the left foot to the side so that you've just got the tip toe touching the floor. And then I want you to come back into this soft right knee position, tracking it over the middle of the foot, and just adjust so you feel comfortable. Take your left arm high, you breathe in. As you breathe out, you push through your left foot, you pull through your left arm, and you reach across to the right. You breathe in to come back up to center, and then imagine that your right hand is active and it's pulling across you as you push and you pull and you press and you energize right the way along this line from hand to foot. Breathing in to come back to center, breathing out to reach and pull. Come back into center, bend the knee up. So we're kind of going to do maybe 4 or 5 in that way, 4 or 5 in the other way, and then I want you to think about looking at a couple of things we're going to work on. We're going to look on retraction and protraction shoulders in 4-point. So if you just stand with your arms forwards, if you keep the rib cage still and retract your shoulder blade backwards, and then we call it protraction, reaching the arm forwards. We're going to do that. So instead of being a press up where we're bending and straightening the arms, we're going to look at doing a press up kind of thing with just the shoulder stabilizers and these muscles all working here. And that's really important because we want to work on shoulder strength. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to work on these muscles that run down from the base of the skull to the top of the hip. We're going to look at them. There's a group of muscles, they're like 2 racing bicycle inner tubes. And I want you to feel that they're not just kind of got no air in them. I want you to feel they've got a bit of energy, a little bit of plumpness, and we're going to use them as stabilizers and kind of an idea that we're going to focus on something there. And then the third thing is we're going to do some prone work with insect arms. Now, insect arms are where the fingertips are below shoulder height, maybe level with your collarbones, the tips of the middle finger, and then the elbows are behind you, pointing upwards, or as they will be, or backwards if you're standing, and then narrow. And it's that position there, like a cricket, yeah, rather than kind of here, flatter out, or sort of all over the place. So if they're further back, pulled back, and then narrow, they kind of poke backwards, and they give us some strength when we bend backwards. So easy to do when we're standing, just have a look at that. Let's come into that press and release with the protraction and retraction. So come and kneel down. We'll start in 4-point, so the knees are directly under the hip. This is unloading the shoulders. We're going to have the arms under the shoulders. We're going to let the rib cage drop down, so release. And then we're pressing as we breathe out and pushing the floor away. The rib cage elevates, the rib cage descends. Now, as you do this a couple of 3 times, you'll feel there's a point when you get about 2/3 of the way back where you almost feel a pull or a connection under the base of your rib cage, like a tightening into here, which is your upper abdominals kind of connecting into your arms. And you'll also maybe just feel a sense of activity in your bottom hamstrings, just in the glutes. So you're kind of getting a superpower. Now, as you push higher, that all kind of switches off again. So there's this optimal range for your shoulders to be in their best position. So if that feels all right, we've got the movement range. We can then start to load the arms more by taking the knees back into, we call this a skydive position. And then you can press and release with a little bit more load. And then if that feels still really, really easy, still kind of connected and fine, you can actually come into more of a plank position and do the same drop and push, release and press. But it shouldn't feel like you're at any point overloading the shoulders. So you've got progressions, and do maybe 6, 7, 8, the usual, breathing well. Inhale to lower, exhale to press the floor away. Feels connected. And just try and find that magic point. Go past it, go through it on the way up and down, but just trying to get that sense of optimal alignment. Okay, so we're going to do pointer and tabletop. The same 4-point kneeling. We're going to think about dragging the toe of the left foot underneath you, and you're going to pull your knee towards the space between your arms. You're going to tuck your pelvis, roll your spine, look underneath you towards your navel. That's an exhale. And then as you inhale, you're going to straighten the leg behind you. You're going to reach it back. You're going to pull it up. You're going to pull your waist up, lift your collarbones and your leg using your leg muscles. So it's kind of an extended bow kind of shape. And then as you breathe out, we're pulling the knee underneath. And as you inhale, we're pushing away, lifting, elevating. So it should feel strong, should feel within an easy, comfortable range. Again, do about 6 to 8 to either side. Just think about how you're trying to find movement into flexion, which is bending forwards, and into a little bit of extension, which is just opening up the rib cage, not just tipping in the middle. And go from there. And then I just want you to come into a roll onto your back and lie down. I've been working on a gathering breath for a few weeks, and it's the thing about how we're trying to work on the rib cage gathering itself together as the breath comes out. So it's like an accordion or Venetian blinds or something, where they actually close as you breathe out and they get kind of shorter, and that helps squeeze the air out of you. And then as you inhale in through your nose, you'll feel them opening up. And the idea is not just to open up into the front of the rib cage, but also into the sides, laterally, and at the back. So you almost push yourself off the floor more as you breathe in. Feel really heavy. And then as you breathe out, feel that sense of closure. And if you can finish the breath, you'll feel your shoulders relaxing at the end as well, kind of going a bit soft. This kind of quietens down, and then breathing in again. Now, I like to think about this as not like a really heavy, strong push breath. I think about it as more of a sleeping baby or a sleeping puppy breath, where imagine if there was something asleep, a puppy or a baby on you, and you didn't want to wake it up, but you're trying to breathe really quietly, really calmly, but really strong. Okay, so that's a gather. Now, on top of that, I want you to think about how if you bring that little hollow into the small of your back, come into a neutral spine position, if you gather the ribs together, can you also feel those muscles running down either side of your spine at the back, just plumping up, and just feel like they become a little bit more active? And I want you to feel that on the inhale and on the exhale. So irrespective of the gathering, we've still got that kind of connection. And this gives us some stability and some strength, not just from the front of the body, but from the back of the body. Almost feel like you're being pulled into the floor. And then I want you to do a single knee fold to your right leg. And I want you to, so harder, straight, easier, half bent, much easier, 90 degrees. Or if you've really tightened your hips, just think about letting the heel drop down and quietening the front of the leg down. So there's different levels, different difficulties. Your hands are down, soft, you've got that sense of connection in the back of your spine. Those two inner tubes have been pumped up with, air and stuff. And then I want you to circle your leg bone in your hip socket. Now you're going up towards your shoulder, front of thigh, out to the side, outer thigh, away from you, back of thigh, hamstrings, and then as you come in, inner thigh. And if you can just kind of make those different parts of the leg do the different movements, it's the same in the long leg. And then we're just kind of moving in a comfortable range, not going too far over. And the factor is that if you can do it without your pelvis rolling and you feel that sense of engage in the middle of your back, it's kind of working easier than if you feel it really grippy here. You'll find your pelvis following your legs. So just be really at the level that can move without any strain. We do 6 in one direction on one leg, reverse, and then carefully reset, make sure everything's square, set up beautifully, and then we do the other side. We're breathing in for a circle and out for a circle. So you kind of play with it, find a range. You might find one side's easier than the other, and just smooth out the corners as you progressively increase the range, the movement in the hip socket. Once you've done the sets, breathing in, breathing out, I want you to come into a center position with the feet down. And I want you to feel as though you're super heavy through the front of your hip joint. I want you to reach your arms up in the air, bend the elbows, interlace the fingers, and place them behind your head. Now, before we think about moving forwards, I want you to think about moving backwards. And I want you to think about making your spine super long and feel as though you're weighting your head into your hands. So it's almost like you're pushing your hands back with your head. This creates a better line through your spine and might discourage the use of the arms to pull the head forwards. So the idea is that we're going to slide these front ribs down towards the floor behind the hip, almost like a plate moving down and tucking and rolling. You breathe in at the top, into the back of the body hopefully, and then as you breathe out you release the rib cage joint by joint, and then the head comes down. So the idea is that you work to a range you can do until you feel that your hip flexors or your legs start to pull up, or your bottom starts to switch on and your pelvis tips into the floor. So it's keeping this neutral and just bringing the head, neck and shoulders up using the upper abdominals. We're breathing out, we breathe in to hold, we breathe in and come back. Now, if that's really easy and you want to make it a little bit more a challenge today, just bring your feet up one, stay with the head down, bring your foot up two, make a little diamond of your heels so your knees are about shoulder width, and then as you tip the rib cage down and forwards, think about keeping the thighs in exactly the same place. Breathe in and hold, and then breathe out, release back to the floor. And again, do about 6 to 8 of either version, whichever feels easier, or maybe 4 and 4. Just kind of feel that sense of work in the upper abdominals, but not, overwork strain, and definitely no pulling of the head. Elbow position is really important. Think about having the arms 50-50. If my hands are really forwards like this, I'm focusing my energies into the front of the body. If I pull them really back, I'm focusing on the energy into the back of the body. So halfway is, ideal. So, but we're all slightly different, so just find a place that feels comfortable and right for you. So from there, we're going to come into a single leg stretch, and we've got a couple of versions. If you want to keep your head down, we take the foot higher. If you want to keep the leg lower, the head comes up, and we use the balance of the body, the weight of the leg, to actually offset the curl. So we're helping, because it's a close change, we can use the arms and the body weight to create a bit of movement. So let's start with the hand position. We're going to do a single and then a double knee fold. Bring the feet together to touch at the heel and bring the hands onto the knees. Draw the knees just back to vertical over the hip joint. So single leg stretch 1. You bring your right hand onto your left knee. You start to slide the left hand down towards the left ankle. So this knee's coming in. Okay, and then at the same time as you're doing this, you're breathing out and you're pushing your right foot up towards the ceiling. You breathe in, you switch and change, you pull and push, you breathe out. So that's single leg stretch 1. The spine's neutral, which means there's a little hollow under the small of the back. The head's down. It's really soft, but you're breathing fully. Now, single leg stretch 2 is a slightly harder exercise, and we're going to involve a little bit of a curl. So you come to this start position with the hands and the knees and the double knee fold. Take a breath in, and then as you breathe out, we do the ab pro. Now, as we do the ab pro, we slide the hands down towards the ankles. We hold on. The arms are active. The elbows are bent, and they're actively helping to create the curl. You're going to straighten your right leg away, pull your left knee in, breathing out, and then as you breathe in, you come back into center and you breathe out. Now, there's an optimal elevation of the leg that goes away. So start with the heel just below knee, and then if that feels okay, you can then start to lower the leg away and it becomes more lower abdominal. Breathing in, breathing out. Now, as I pull my knee in, my elbows widen, my curl deepens, and then as I inhale, because I'm losing the power of the arms, the breath behind me lifts me up a little bit. And then as I breathe out and stretch the leg away, I deepen the curl as the air comes out of the body. So come back in, bring the head back down, bring the knee down 1, the knee down 2. Just take a breath in there at the end. So roll to the side. So we've got about 6 to 8 again of those. I want to do a preparation for an oblique twist. So we've got a setup where we're trying to use the oblique muscles here and here, and I want to do this in a relaxation position again. So lying on the back, we're going to take the one leg long, we're going to lift the other leg up to high, we're going to bring the arms just behind the head again, and then keeping this knee still, keeping the thigh soft and the leg long as an offset, we're going to just start to rotate around the axis of the spine, bringing the right elbow towards the left knee and curling forwards. And then we come back on the inhale. Okay, so that's our basic movement. Now, it's really tempting, we're going to do again about 6 to 8, but it's really tempting as you do this to pull this arm that's going forward in to create the lift. Now what happens then is I shut my body down and I run out of space very, very early. Instead, try and focus on this elbow. As you pull this arm backwards, it brings this arm in. So you're kind of using the back of your body as well as your front of your body. Remember, the breath is out to come forwards, in to come back. Bring the foot down, switch and change, alternate to the other side. And again, 6 to 8, and it should feel strong but not killer. So back into center, we roll to the side, we'll come up, we're going to do spine stretch forward prep. We're going to do a little bit of an open frog position. I want you to have your heels together, but not really your toes. Ideally, it's as though your legs were completely neutral and you just roll them out to the side. And so you've still got this 90-degree angle here, 90-degree angle here. This takes tension out of the knees and helps create space in the hip joints. Now, we've just been doing some curls, and inevitably the hip flexors are going to get a little bit activated. So I want you to find a point of your leg position where you're not too energized in that little crease at the front of your hip, so that you don't feel those big ribs firing up. You should just feel that you can be soft. Now, one way to make that easier is to actually sit on top of something like a 4-inch block or a roller or something like that, and you elevate your sit bones, and then you've got some more space in your hip, and it enables you to sit vertically. And this is the most important thing. If you're elevated in a neutral vertical spine position, you're optimizing the shape of your back and you're kind of making everything more comfortable. If the tell for that is your tailbones, the little sit bones, is when you're on the back of them, you tend to be tipping backwards at the waist. If you're on the front of them, you tend to be tipping forwards at the waist. But if you can be on top of them, the little sharp bits, you're kind of in an optimal position. And this enables your body to have its max ranges of movement, optimal ranges of movement, with less strain. From there, I want you to think about how you're lifting up through your rib cage. I want you to imagine there's that sense of a lift, almost like being picked up from the sides of your body and lifted up. So we're elevating, and that translates and carries on through to the crown of the head. Bring your arms up. Now, we could put the hands on the behind the head, but that's just going to encourage a pull. So I want you to think about heel of hand going to temple, and again, try and find a 50-50 position with your elbows. So, there isn't a right or a wrong, just find a comfy place. We're going to try and keep the elbow line horizontal, so you do need to be able to see them. And then we're going to rotate out to the side, but not absolute maximal range. We just want to go till the breastbone or the center of the rib cage is pointing at the knee across the body. And then keeping that shape, I want you to start to roll and fold and bring your nose down towards your knee. You're going to breathe in and you're going to rebuild and restack, and continue to breathe in as you turn back to center. So it's an out breath, breathing out to turn and bend in one direction, and an in breath to bring yourself up and back. Now, when I twist, I like to think about how my body's organised. I've got my spine at the back of the body and all my organs and everything are in front of it. So if I turn and I keep my weight equal, I'm actually cranking my spine a bit to maintain level, and that stops the range of movement and makes things feel uncomfortable or uncoordinated. It's not impossible, and it's okay, but I like to take the weight with me and then bend. And I feel when I do that freer, easier, more balanced, more stable, and it's softer, and it's just, I think it's better. So, you know, play with it. If it feels not so good, do the other way, do stay balanced. But if you feel that when you move and you bend with taking a little bit of weight to the side to balance your centre of mass, then, you know, that's probably right for you. Okay, we're going to do a little side reach. So again, if you're on a block, if you're not, you can have your heels together. I want you to bring your hands forward to the line of your body, so your elbows are just in the edge of your peripheral vision. And then I want you to just fingertips touch. Now if you're on a block, you'll be narrower. If you're on the floor, you'll be a bit wider, but just find a comfortable placement for the arms. We're going to focus on the elbow position, so that if you were to draw a line from the pointy bit of the elbow, or where the joint bends, that would be pointing back towards your hip. So you're in an open elbow, and the hands turn to the forearm spirals. Bring your other arm high, breathe in, and reach up through that arm, and then as you breathe out, bend the elbow that's on the hand on the floor and bend across to the side. Breathing in to lift up, switch and change, and breathing out to move the other way. So that's our seated side bend. Now, with the twist, we were taking the weight side to side. With this, what we're interested in is an opening of the body. So we're really trying to stay balanced, level and even. So as you take the arm up in the air, and before you move that way, start to think about pushing that hip down as you reach that arm up. So you've got down and up force, opposition, and then you bend the elbow and stretch away. Breathe in to come back in center. Breathe out to move to the side. Okay, again, say 4, 5, 6 to either side, just getting the body to move evenly. You might find if you do it a little bit more each time, you get a gentle increase in range. If you try and go like too hard to start off with, you're not going to get more range. So just think gentle, easy, nice, long, considered breaths, that same sense of strong but not over breathing. Okay, we're going to go to prone. We're going to do lying on the rib cage. Now, what's really important is to set up well. So if you think about how you come down onto the mat, try and imagine you were like almost like an aeroplane landing on the floor. You're going to bring your nose down first, and then you're going to slide your rib cage down. And this means that you're flatter through the rib cage. If you just come down, plonk your ribs down, you're already in a bit of extension. So it's that sense of trying to find that softer start position. A little bit of space in the lower back, a little bit of centering, so you're just a gentle pull of navel to spine. A little bit of gluteal activity. We'll go wider with the feet, turn the heels in, let the toes drop out, and then bring the arms around so that they're underneath you. Thumbs are underneath you, but your hands are drawn back behind your shoulders. Let your shoulders roll forward to let your elbows lift higher, narrow, quite close to the torso. And then let your head drop to the side. If you've got a cushion, you can have your head vertical, but don't break your nose on the floor. So we're going to use an inhale to sort of prepare and set up, centering through the middle, through the glutes, and then keeping the feet heavy. I want you to almost feel as though the mid part of your body is the hip joint, and you're going to almost push your feet away as you come higher. So you might even feel them sliding on the floor, which would be ideal. So I've breathed in, I've connected into my body. As I breathe out, I'm just going to do a mini version. I'm just going to keep my bottom rib down. I'm going to elevate my upper back, pull my shoulders down towards the elbows. Let my feet slide away, push into my hip bone, breathe in. And then as I breathe out, I'm going to come down and look the other way. Now, if that feels all right, do 3 or 4. Breathe in at the top, breathe out and release down again. So if that feels okay, we can extend more.
So we're still working on that sense of push through the hip joint, hip extension. We're going to come into our mini insect arm position, and then we're going to push the hips down and come into elevate spine. Make sure you lift through the crown of the head as well. Breathe in, and then as you breathe out, come back down. Sequentially allowing the feet to glide back. So you're moving from your hip joint rather than just in your lower lumbar spine. And again, this is quite a strong exercise. You've got your arms and your back muscles working. So just come to a comfortable height, breathing in, and then breathing out, coming back down. So again, 4, 5, 6, don't over move, stay strong. Think about your strength is, if your feet feel like they're lifting up, you're probably just bending in the middle. So just try and feel that you're pushing your feet away. Try and get the movement from the hip bone, which is the center of your body, and then feel that sense of elevation through the upper, the waist, the rib cage, the head, neck and shoulders. So you're getting that beautiful curve up, and as you come down, as you're start to lower, start to bring the waist down as one entity, and then the rib cage, and then the head and neck and shoulders. All right, looking one way, looking the other way if you haven't got a cushion for your forehead. I want to do single leg kick next. Now, it's another exercise that's about that sense of opposition, where we're trying to, but we're also trying to balance left and right. So the energy I use on my right leg is the energy I use on my left leg. Now, we're going to let the feet hover a tiny little bit. You've got two start-up positions. You've got elbow support, which is where you can push your hip bones down and pull your tummy up. This is more advanced. The easier version is to bring the hands under the forehead, let the elbows go wider, and let your head just rest. So you're not overloading your spine from one side or the other. You're just a bit more even, a bit softer. You're going to have your feet in parallel, and you're going to try and rotate your feet and have a sense of little toe, big toe nails down, so that the heels point vertically up to the ceiling. What we're going to do is we're going to extend through the legs. They're active, they're reaching away, and because they reach away, your waist lifts off the floor a little bit. So that's like our lower back kind of supported from the legs. Now, the energy I'm using to pull my right heel in is being matched exactly by the energy I'm using to push my left foot away. You can see it hovering and lengthening. I'm breathing in, I'm keeping that energy in both legs, and I'm kicking out. So I'm pulling in, breathing in, pushing away, kicking out. And if I get the energy levels right in both legs, I don't have any rotation in my pelvis. I don't find my back pivoting, tipping and rolling. So my pelvis stays level and I stay energized and I'm reaching out. Now, if I do it absolute max, I'm almost touching my heel to my bottom, but if I've been for a run like I had this morning, it's not going to happen. So it's kind of that thing about be kind, just think about what your body's doing as well, where it needs to be stretched, and if something feels a little bit tight or a little bit hard or you're cramping somewhere else, just pause, do something else, don't worry about it, just move on. I usually do 10 to either side, breathing in and breathing out as I kick. So it's kind of like heel up, breath out, heel in, breath in, heel out, breath out. And I slow it down. And we'll just do one leg kicking, one leg straight, one leg kicking, one leg straight for now. That's the progression, is to start to do a little bit more of a, as you kick one up, you kick one down. You can play with it. Okay, so that's great. And then I want to do a little bit of a sideline work before we do a back stretch. So we've done, okay. So I want you to come into a torpedo position. This means you're in a straight line, okay? Your hands under your head, or you've got a block or something supporting it. What I want you to do is I want you to make a little bit of space under your waist, and I want you to either have your top arm resting on your hip. This helps to push the leg away, but is less supported. Or you can have your top arm here, which stops you rolling around too much. And if you push the hand down a little bit, it cues your center to switch on. So I say a straight line, but I don't really mean that. I mean a connected straight line. So if your feet are in a straight line, that might be a straight line. I might think that's straight, but my ribs have floated forward and I'm not stable. So what I need to be is I need to be able to do that same connection. Imagine the gathering breath we were doing lying down, that same connection through the front of the body And that is a straight line for me today. Now, I'm going to keep my hand on my hip, I'm going to keep my waist lifted, and the first part of the movement is to lift the top leg up and down. Now, I'm interested in having my heel below my toes or level, so that I'm in a slight bit of external rotation to favour the bottom and the upper thigh. And doing again, breathing in, breathing out, and do about 8 of those. The second part of it is to do a straight hover from the top leg, and then just using my inner thighs, and I mean on both legs, it's like a squeeze. I'm going to lift and lower the bottom leg to the top leg in space. Breathing in, breathing out. It's very much a precise movement, but I'm not tipping back to do that. I'm actually reaching out from the top leg and squeezing in. Think riding a horse, holding it tight, you know, if you're riding without saddle. Okay, but not squeezing from here, squeezing from your inner thighs. Okay, the third movement in this set is to come into just feet down, waist lifted, long. And now push this foot away a little bit more. Now, really connect into the rib cage here. Hands down, hand up, eat harder, hand down easier. You think about how if you bring your waist down and shorten through here, you can bring your feet up into the air, and then as you bring your waist up, you can bring your feet down. So it's like a little seesaw, rocking on your hip bone. And if you watch my pelvis, it's the pelvis is tipping that way and this way. Good. And again, so we would do the leg lifts. So the top leg lift without the waist dropping, 8, breathing in to lift, breathing out to lower. Bottom leg lifts, breathing in to lower, breathing out to lower. Keeping the waist up, and then lifting both legs by bending at the waist and releasing. So you're kind of using a bit of gravity, and we're using the muscles either side of the spine, at the middle, the fillet steak, quadriceps and ballroom. We're using those to shorten on one side and lengthen on the other, like 2 little pistons pushing and pulling. Okay, so from there we're going to come into a 3-point position. Now, I'm starting in 4 points. So if you look at your mat, have your hands down and your knees just sort of kind of in the usual 4-point position. The first thing you do is you take your left leg and you rotate it so that the foot tips over further to the left side. You then straighten your right leg away, heel and toe heavy, so that the heel of the right foot, knee of the left leg, hand of the left hand are all in a straight line. This is a really stable 3-point position. And it's a twist, a preparation for side twist. So we're going to rotate, we're going to breathe in, we're going to lift the right arm to the ceiling. We're going to keep the arm in front of the rib cage, and then we can open the rib cage to create a bit more turn. Always looking at the thumb. And then as you breathe out, you're going to bring the arm underneath the torso. Think about scooping the arm underneath, and again looking past the arm as you bring your arm, tips of fingers to the top of the back of the shoulder. And then as you breathe in, you open up, and as you breathe out, you rotate under. Probably 6, 7, change sides, really feel easy and free with the movement, and then just come back into a elbow support position. So we're just going to kind of go, so we're going to do a little bit of arm loading, going back a bit to where we're working the shoulders. We're going to do a kind of a plank, a twisting plank, side plank preparation again. So your elbows are down, your knees are behind your hips, but you're not overloading your shoulders. It should feel relatively easy to lift an arm up in the air. And then just straighten one arm, push the ribcage into rotation, and then straighten the other arm, ribcage goes flat. Now bend the first arm, ribcage rotates the other way, bend the other elbow, ribcage comes to flat. So now you alternate the leading arm, stepping up, stepping down. And if it feels relatively easy to do. The knees can go further away. You could go into a plank. If it feels harder, your knees can come further in and come into a 4-point position, just doing that as a sort of a shoulder strength exercise. If you do 5 on one set, 5 on the other side. So it's just a 10 kind of walking up, walking downs. It's a really good way of building strength and capacity, but I don't want this to be a straining shoulder exercise. It should be a strengthening shoulder exercise to make sure it's not overloaded. From there, we're just going to do a little bit of cat and sphinx. And I want you to have your knees under your hips. I want you to focus on the pressure in the hands and the knees being the same all the time. This takes away the temptation to push the rib cage up, which it loves to do, which does feel nice, but we're really interested in the lumbar spine articulating. So think about keeping the knees heavy, take a breath in, and then tuck your pelvis, bring your waist up, let your rib cage stretch up, resist that temptation to push into the hands. Now pull your gaze underneath you and breathe out fully. Breathe into that space. And then as you breathe out, ripple back from your pelvis, really articulating into your lumbar spine. Let your rib cage elevate, and then your head, neck and shoulders. So you're just looking past your fingertips to the floor, and then tuck and roll. Now I like to do this in a couple of different directions. So everyone's slightly different, and I find that some days I love doing it from my tail to my head, and some days it feels a little bit kind of crunchy and a bit kind of less joyous. So those days I go head to tail. So just play with the direction of movement. Just feel it's a sequential movement. It's very sinuous, trying to keep the work into the muscles around the spine, not so much into the arms and the shoulders. About 6 or 7, something like that. What you'll find is you'll get smoother with the movement for about 6, 7, 8, but after that it'll get less good. So kind of find your best one and say, oh, I don't think I'm doing more than that, and then just kind of move on to the next exercise. It's a really nice offset for what we've been working on. We're then going to come back onto our backs. We're going to lie down and do some bridges and some spine curls. And I'm going to say they're dolphins because I think that's what I've been taught them as. So the idea is that I'm in a neutral spine. I'm square, shoulders, hips, feet in the midline, knees. So I'm just setting up, and I'm just using the mat as a grid to help me set up well. And then feet heavy, glutes engage. Breathing in, I'm lifting my bottom up into the air. My knees are reaching away, I'm stretching out through my spine. At the top, I'm going to breathe out, and I'm going to roll down from the rib cage, each joint in turn, then the waist, then the hips, and then I'm going to finish with the leg bones sinking into the hip socket and my spine creating that little hollow into the small of the back. I'm going to have my arms just down to the side to start off with, and I want to do about 5 more of those. So I'm breathing in, and then I'm rolling through the spine, joint by joint by joint. I'm trying to get the same amount of articulation I got in the cat, but instead of the spine being above me, it's now below me. So I can use the body weight to maybe help some of the stickier joints move better, and it's a little bit harder on the back line of the body. So I'm kind of, it's the classic Pilates thing of do one thing in one direction and then reverse it. And so we get good at the movement of the spine and the body rather than the actual exercise. So that seems a good plan. When you've done 5, okay, we should have warmed the back up. We're going to then go for a more stiff neutral spine, and we're going to do typewriter. And I'm going to show you, hopefully from this direction, you'll be able to see what's going on. So if I've got my inhale to lift up, and then exhale to go straight down. So you see my spine is staying in a straight line. Now, and it's also neutral, so favouring the natural hollow in the small of the back, rib cage shape and back and neck. As I come, I'm just going to hover an inch off the floor. And I'm going to ground my feet. I'm going to keep my knees where they are. And I'm going to use my shoulders and my feet as my balance points. And I'm going to glide my pelvis to the right, breathing in, back to the middle, and to the left. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just learning how to do the typewriter movement that I'm looking for. And I'm trying to keep both hips skimming the floor the same height as I glide side to side. So I'm having to rotate my leg bone in the hip socket. As the hip moves across, my upper thigh bone is adjusting. So that's the basic movement. Do a couple, come back into centre and just rest. Now, if that felt at all uncomfortable, don't progress. But if it felt okay, well, let's see how it goes. Now, at the top of our lift, there's less range, and at the bottom of the lift, there's loads. So kind of feel that it's like a Christmas tree, that you're finding that little V or a triangle, that V of movement from the top where there's very little to the bottom where there's tons, and make it kind of even all the way down. So pelvis goes high, it comes down just a fraction. And then I want you to glide left and right, breathing in and breathing out 2 times without the knees moving away from their start position. Then come down to about halfway, and the same, it's a left and right glide 2 times. And progressively, as I go down, like I said, we've got more range of movement. And then the final one is back to that skim, and just really feel how joyous and easy that is. And you've started to make even more room and more space. And if, you know, like most people have tight hip on one side and it's tighter, stronger, you know, you can duplicate the words. You get that thing about how as you move it a little bit more, it gets a bit more soft. And then the one on the other side that's really fluid and really flexible actually has to do a little bit less and gets a little bit stronger. So it's a really good balancing exercise. We do about 2 to either side, high, medium, low, and then we do that just one more time. So we do 2 sets. So from there we do a little leg stretch. We're going to do climb a tree prep, which is one of my favourites. It's a dynamic hamstring stretch, back of thigh stretch. It's a little bit of a nerve glide, so just be mindful that if it feels a bit uncomfortable, don't make it too big. Neutral spine, stable level pelvis, hands just support the leg, you're not holding on, just supporting the leg, tracking the knee over the hip, ankle over the knee, foot, you know, everything, beautiful line through the center line of the foot. And then as you breathe in, push the foot up towards the ceiling, stretch into the back of the thigh, actually straighten the leg. If it needs to go there to straighten or there to straighten, that's where it needs to be. It's the straightening and the bending of the leg which is switching the electrical control systems from the nervous system on and off. That allows the muscle to change length, shape, stretch without tearing. So we're breathing in, we're breathing out, and we want to do about 8 one side, and then reset, make sure you're all beautifully lined up, and then do 8 more. Now, sometimes we do this, our knees can be a bit clicky. So if you find that's happening, and you know, the proof that that's not really going to hurt anything, but it can be a bit disconcerting, so you can maybe improve it a little bit. If you just take your outside hand down to your glute med, which is just the dimple of your bottom, and then just down towards the sit bone. And if you just feel that before you straighten the leg, that muscle energizes, and then as you straighten the leg up to the ceiling, try and feel that muscle staying energized, and as you bend the knee back, keep it energized. You might find that you get less noise in the knee. It might not work, might do. It's just one of those things. Some people works, some people doesn't. Okay, so you've done that. We're going to do windscreen wiper legs to finish. It's a twist of the hips, bottom to top. You're going to take your feet out to the sides of the mat, little edges of feet on the sides. We're going to set the arms below, palms up. We're going to rotate the hip to the left and the right. Okay. Breathing in to come back, breathing out to rotate away. Now, because my feet are wider, I can get a differential. My outside leg drops to almost to the floor. But I'm really interested in the inside leg being my driving force. So rather than just kind of just flopping over and losing my spine, what I'm trying to do instead is actually, like I was doing with the bridge, is actually lift that hip up a little bit, use the glute, and as it rolls, pushing the knee away a little bit to get the tissues from my knee to my shoulder to connect together and maybe stretch out a little bit. And then as I come back, I kind of feel that I'm pulling that hip down, and then that leg can go quiet, and you just let that softly release, and then feel this leg doing the driving from the glute out through the knee, connecting everything together and getting that oblique rotation. We do a couple just with the legs, and then we can start to turn the head in the opposite direction. And I want if I'm going to the left, I want my right shoulder to be still on the floor. So that's kind of about a twist. So even though we're only turning the bottom half of the body's moving, in effect we're contralaterally rotation the rest of the body so the ribs stay square, and so you might feel there's a bit of work through the upper rib cage as well. All right, that's from there. We're going to come to spin around, come up to stand. I usually go hands and knees. I usually push my heels back and then come up into stand. So just, but you know, if that feels too, you know, do that. Okay, dumb waiter. Going to do elbows into the sides of the body. Elbows narrow, the palms are facing up to the ceiling. I want you to just not have your arms so far back that you're pulling your shoulders into the midline. I want to make this about rolling, and it's just rolling the arm bone in the shoulder joint. So as this hand opens to the side, you only go as far as you can until you feel your shoulders having to react. So it's a rotation, and that's a really nice movement for your arm bones in the shoulder socket, because there's a little cross line of ligaments that run across the top of the shoulder, and as they roll against each other like this, they lubricate and they get a bit softer. Now, I want to add from that into a mini Cleopatra. So you take your arms into the open position, and then keeping the hands below eyebrow level, I want you to reach them away on the diagonal, straightening the elbows and rotating the arm bone in the shoulder socket in a different direction. And then I want you to bring your elbows in, and I want you to close. So it's open, breathe in, exhale, reach away, inhale, bring them in, exhale, close. And I want you to do about maybe 4 or 5, just that easy, nothing too much. Gentle softening of the shoulder. Now, once we finish that, I just want to take the right hand onto the left shoulder, let the left shoulder roll in and let the palm turn away. And then I want you to imagine you're pushing it away with your first finger of that hand, and you're going to roll your hand out, and you're going to reach through the middle finger and just open up this line of the shoulder. And we'll do 4 or 5 really soft, really gentle movements. And as that happens, the front line of the body softens here. And if we've left any tension in from doing all these things, it kind of just washes away. So it's just a nice way of finishing it off. And then when you've done 4 here, come back in, switch the hand over to the right side, open, close the shoulder in, bring the shoulder almost up towards the ear, and then just feel that roll away as you push through and open, and then pull back and close. And I'm doing that on a forward plane, so I'm actually taking it away on that soft line. I'm not trying to pull it behind me or get too much out of the shoulder. I'm just trying to gently encourage space there. Take the hands, when you've done 4, take the hands together, make an interlace into a fist. I want you to imagine that you've got a line between your shoulder, your hip and your ankle, and that's going to stay vertically stacked, and you're going to crouch a little bit, and then as you reach your arms forward, you pull your waist back, and we go into a shell stretch. You breathe into your back, and then as you breathe out, you straighten out. Going to add, so we're going to push away, pull, reach, yeah? Now, as you breathe in this time, I want you to bring your hands down towards your knees, deepen in the curve, pull up through your navel. And then as you straighten your legs, let your arms open wide, pull your hands back and bend your knees. So I call this ski jump. And then pushing through the whole of your foot, I want you to lengthen through your spine and reach your arms up into the air. Circle around, grab your hands in front of you, push and pull. Inhale, bend again, arms open wide, ski jump, elevate through the shoulders. So really switch on those back extensors. The glutes are firing, press into the toes as well. And as you straighten your legs, bring your arms up and forwards. Last time, circle the arms around. Grab the hands together, push and pull. Breathe out, breathe in, almost draw those hands towards your knees. The arms go wider, turn the palms back, bend the knees more, lift the shoulders, lift the collarbones, push up through your back and floor, and then bring your arms up into the air. Open wide on a V. Bring your collarbones up and breathe in. Let your arms release down. Hands together. Thank you very much.